Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire.
Tonight's special guest.
You're watching Firewire. Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire.
Hey, you finally felt like showing up. Welcome to the Firewire at East Hampton Bowl. Come on in.
Welcome to the Firewire. I'm here with Walker Vreeland from WBAZ Radio. Light on the Bays. Walker, thank you very much for coming down.
It's my pleasure. Nice to be here.
It's all mine, believe me. Believe me. I know that you can hang out with a lot more glitzier and glamorous people than myself, but I appreciate you slumming.
The pleasure is all mine, Ian. I'm happy to be here. I really am.
Thank you. So let me
It's been
ask
a while since I've been here.
Is that right?
I mean, it's been years. I used to come here as a child. I used to come here as a kid. I grew up out here part of the time. Used to come here all the time on rainy days.
Place still kind of look the same?
It does. It hasn't changed a bit.
See that? We need to invest some more money into business.
No,
See
I
that?
like that. It has sort of that nostalgic flair.
Absolutely, it does. Definitely does. So, obviously, you've gone to schools from the performing arts. I'm sure many of them. Which schools did you attend?
Gosh, I went to 3 schools for the arts, and I went to one in Baltimore where I grew up for several years, and then I went to a high school for the arts in Boston called Walnut Hill, and then I went to college in New York. I went to NYU, and I went to Tisch School of the Arts. So that's 3 schools for the arts. I didn't mess around. I knew what I wanted to do from a very young age.
Well, that's very good, because a lot of us don't. We end up struggling through years of just this abstract kind of a life instead of really what we're born to do, so to speak.
Yeah, I was always very clear about my path, and so that was always so. Radio is relatively new for me. I have a lot more experience as an actor and singer than I do as a radio personality. So I'm still learning every day. I learn something new, and the more you do it, the better you get. And there's nothing like doing something every day to master it.
Yeah, repetition.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So your show's on from 2 to 6, right?
Yes, 2 to 6 weekday afternoons. Okay. 102.5 WBAZ.
Plug it, baby.
Yes.
So how did you get into radio? You said you acted and you sang, and somehow your career path branched off to yet another fabulous medium with radio. So how did you kind of walk down that path?
It's so weird the way I got into this business. It sort of came to me out of the blue. It was kind of random, and yet not. I mean, when I was young, I used to pretend I had my own radio station. I used my initials as the call letters, WPV. So I was always fascinated with radio as a kid, and I used to listen to our local talk station because I knew that they would have the school closings on snow days.
Right.
And before I went to School for the Arts, I was not a huge fan of school, so I would listen, for the school close. I mean, that's how I got into radio. I mean, that's how I was introduced to radio. Kind of pathetic, but then I was an actor for years, and then I got into radio because I couldn't be an actor anymore. I mean, I still had the burning desire to act, but I did not want to live the life of an actor. And I sort of hit a breaking point when I took this job as a lead singer for Norwegian Cruise Lines. And that was sort of the last straw for me. I was on this ship, and it was a disaster, and I felt like trapped on this boat, and it was a nightmare.
Yeah, well, obviously a lot of people from the area know you as a DJ, have listened to your show. I'm kind of curious. I'm sure you didn't just walk into the station and said, "Here's a time slot, go be a DJ." You kind of worked your way up through the ranks a little bit, no?
Well, actually, I did walk in and say, I want to work here, and I had no experience. I mean, I'd been to broadcasting school, but you really, if you want to be in radio or television, broadcasting school is really not necessary. You don't have to do it. So I walked into this group of stations because I grew up out here and I knew I was familiar with these radio stations. So that's how it happened. I mean, I walked in and I said, "Look, I want to work in radio. Will you give me a job?" And they did. And they put me to work. I was answering phones and I was writing commercial copy within days. And so that's how I really did walk in. It doesn't always work out that way for everybody, but it did. I was lucky.
So you're saying that Frank has options?
Frank absolutely has options.
Yeah.
Absolutely. It is not too late. It's never too late for Frank.
So
you're so kind. You're so kind.
Oh, he takes my abuse all the time. Well, you see what he does to me off camera.
This is the perfect time and place.
That's it. So, on BAZ, again, it's weekdays 2 to 6, and what type of music, kind of light music?
Yeah, it's light pop rock. So you're hearing the current top 40 songs of the day, and then sort of the best variety of the 80s and 90s.
I love the 80s. You could see by my balding that I had long hair at one time.
Yeah,
and all
you rocked it in the 80s.
You know what, I did.
I can tell.
Cans of Aquanet. I had hair down to almost down to my belt line. It used to take me almost 3 hours to blow dry my hair.
Wow, that's amazing.
Now,
amazing.
That's really caring about what you look like.
I'm all about the 80s. I love it. I would love to see a picture of that.
I don't know if you would. I think my mother burned them all before she died. I think that was her way of kind of making sure the rest of the world didn't have to deal with that part of me. So I have none to show you.
Oh, that's too bad.
So I understand that you're doing a play as well, right?
I've been working on a monologue. It's really a monologue for several years, and it's actually about my experience on this cruise ship and how that led to a major nervous breakdown, and so it's a very intense piece. It's sort of a one-man show, but it's something that I've been working on and fine-tuning for several years now, and I just did a reading of it at Guildhall last week.
Oh, great. How'd that turn out?
It went great. And I didn't do the whole thing. I did the first act. But it went great. And, the more I do readings, staged readings of the piece and workshop it and get people's feedback, the more I have to work with and the better it gets.
And I'm sure it's very therapeutic to help you kind of work through whatever feelings you were having.
Yeah, absolutely. I said this earlier, but there is nothing more fun than reliving your nervous breakdown on stage. It really is a blast, which is why acting and mental health are both wonderful things.
Well, I'm out of my mind, which I think is why I do this pretty well.
I think we all have to be out of our minds to do what we do. I think you have to be a little bit crazy to be that little bit of crazy is what makes you unique. It's what makes you interesting to watch or listen to. It's where your creativity lies, and that's really what it's all about.
That's very well said.
So I
thought about it that way.
I'm quite at peace with my mental health issues. I enjoy talking about it because it is what it is,
right.
And also it's a part of my identity.
Right.
You know what I mean? It's and it
Makes you a little bit of who you are today.
exactly.
Yeah, I think every experience is important in life. You know, whether it's good, whether it's bad,
Yeah.
it all makes us who we are in the end. You know?
Yeah, absolutely.
So I can't tell you how many people like I tried to help in my lifetime, and you kind of get screwed over there, but I refuse to let them change me.
Yeah, and
It teaches me another lesson.
And I think the more you can talk about the struggles that you've been through, the better off you are. I think it's sort of a sign of mental health that you're crazy and you can admit to your neuroses. That's sort of a sign of mental health. I think it's also important to talk about because there is such a stigma that still exists, whether it's depression or bipolar disorder or addiction, whatever it is. I think there's stigma still exists. The actor from Iron Man 3 who just came out with the fact that he struggled with anorexia and bulimia, and you never hear about men who struggle with that disorder, and I thought what a great thing that he could come out and talk about that and make it safe for maybe one other person.
Right.
Come on in, sit down. Tell us what's on your mind.
Pull up a chair.
Pull up a chair.
Yeah, there you go.
Exactly.
There you go. Sooner or later, he's going to get tired of me beating him up, you know. And I know what he's going to do, though, for his career path after he's done with me.
I mean, where do you go from here?
It's all downhill.
It's all downhill. It's all downhill from here, folks.
So, tell me more about. I'm just so intrigued with the radio. Like I said before, most people, you got to work up the ladder. You really kind of start out not getting paid at all, and and how quickly did you go from the time you walked in and writing the commercials and all that to actually having your own?
They knew that I had a background as an actor, so they knew I was a performer, and they didn't know I was crazy yet. I sort of kept that on the back burner and, slowly released that information over the years. But they did know that I was a performer, and so they knew that it wasn't going to be a huge stretch for me.
Right.
So they put me on weekends and they put me on overnight just to try me out and see how I'd sound. And eventually I worked my way up to doing weekend nights and then filling in for people in the afternoon, filling in for Lauren Stone on WEHM, and that was back in, I think, 2005 when I started on that station. And then I left. I said to myself, I can't live out here. I was still in my late 20s then, so I just the idea of living out here on the East End wasn't conceivable for me at that time.
Right.
And I went back to New York, and I got some experience living in the city. I worked for one New York station in Westchester and a couple stations in Connecticut. Got some experience, and then I ended up moving back out here in 2007 to do the morning show on WBAZ. So I started out here, left for a year, and then came back, and I've been here since 2007.
It's very interesting because, I've only been in the area not even 3 years yet.
Oh, really?
Yeah, a very short time, but I have found that a lot of people move away. They seem to get sucked back, almost like the Hamptons have some kind of a magnet.
Yes, a kind of magnetic force.
Yeah. There aren't many people I know who have moved away and who have stayed away through my brief travels here.
Yeah, and what's so great is the artistic community that is thriving out here and growing. I mean, it really is. I get the sense that it's always growing. The visual arts community, the community of writers and musicians. I mean, such great musicians and actors. There are many more than I thought that I would find out here. I found more than I anticipated.
To be honest, the reason why I created Firewire was, like you said, the musicians. Incredible amount of musicians out there.
Yeah.
A lot of them, unfortunately, they can't get work.
Right.
Because people don't know who they are.
Yes.
So they don't want to pay for the ticket or spend the time out. But that's a huge reason why I started the show, was to give people just another outlet to go out there and be seen.
It's fantastic.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be a part of it.
There's some friends I have out here who live a little bit of a different lifestyle. You're yourself as well.
Yeah.
You're a gay gentleman.
I am gay and proud of it.
Proud of it. Out the closet.
Yes.
Out the closet.
Yes.
I just have a question for you. I am myself very agitated with the stance New York takes on gay marriage. I don't understand why it should matter to anyone who you're laying down with, as long as you're not hurting anybody. What the hell's the difference, really? I'm just kind of curious what your stance is on it.
Well, obviously I believe in marriage equality, and I think that we'll get there. I think it's inevitable, and that New York, we've got our challenges here, but we will eventually, I believe, get to a point where it's accepted across the country.
I don't know. Maybe it's just me. I just don't understand why it's just not embraced and accepted.
Well,
it's not something. It's not my lifestyle, but
sure.
I'm not going to damn anybody because it's their lifestyle.
Right.
We're all the same. Once you rip the skin off,
right.
It's all the same underneath.
That's true, and I sometimes forget that other opinion exists. It does exist. And when you leave New York, you're sometimes, depending on where you go, you're sometimes reminded of that. You have a rude awakening of that reality. But it is a reality, and it's not a small. It's not the majority, but it's not a small percentage of the country that feels that way.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what the answer is. I think if anything, the answer is to sit down and talk to people and get to know other people and introduce yourself, because I think a lot of it comes from just ignorance, just not knowing. I think a lot of people don't know any gay people.
I think a lot of people, at least, from what I've seen, I'm not just talking gay people, everybody's so opinionated.
Yes.
And they think that no matter how ridiculous it sounds coming off their tongue, that the way they feel is the way everybody should feel, and the only way anybody should feel. So ignorance is exactly right. When they say ignorance is bliss, I think someone needs to get slapped in the back of the head for being ignorant sometimes.
We all live in our bubbles, and I live in my own bubble in a sense, in that I expect everybody to be open and to embrace marriage equality and embrace gays and lesbians and transgender, everyone. I mean, whether it's race, religion, sexual orientation. And so that's the bubble that I live in, and then I go outside of my bubble and I go to the South, or I go to someplace that's not New York, and I'm reminded that that's not the whole country.
Yeah.
But again, I think that it's about starting the conversation and having conversations like this, and having conversations like this with those of us who don't agree with our opinion, and I think that's the answer.
You have to be open-minded. Like, if you and I disagree at a point, but I'm closed-minded to what you're saying, it really doesn't matter how much sense you're making.
I think when it's personal, that has the potential to change the mind. If you know someone, all of a sudden, all of the politicians who change their minds because they have a son or daughter that comes out to them, we see the transformation take place before our eyes. And so we can help that along by sitting down, introducing ourselves, being open, being out. That helps. And being comfortable in our own skin, and embracing other people and not judging other people for being ignorant or bigoted. I mean, that's the biggest challenge for me, because we want to judge. I mean, I certainly want to judge when I see other people voicing their opinions who are anti-gay marriage, I want to judge them.
Right.
And so the challenge for me is to not judge them and actually sit down and be open to having a conversation and introduce myself and say, you know, this is who I am, and why do you feel the way that you do, and here's my experience, and here's where I'm coming from, and does that change how you think about the issue?
That's a fabulous way of looking at it. I apologize if we could sit down and talk about.
You know, when you don't have much to work with, there's very little you can do, and I have this issue too, which is why I'm so glad there's not a camera from the back. So it's a very difficult thing to deal with, the balding issue as a man. You know, women don't realize, but
oh no, they make sure that you realize that it's an issue. Let me tell you this.
Yeah.
They're the first ones to pick it out.
yes.
You know, my ex-wife used to, Ian, is your hair like, you losing some hair back in there? I'm like, don't touch hair number 37. I got it placed just right. What are you doing?
Exactly. 5-year
What is
plan?
your 5-year plan?
You know, I feel like my work is not done out here, and that's why I'm still here. I have things to do, I have things to accomplish, and I would like to continue to build my audience, my following out here. And I'm working on a new podcast series right now that I'm going to launch very soon, hopefully this summer. It's called Interview with the Artist. And it's an outlet for me to invite artists of all different persuasions from all facets of the entertainment industry to sit down, kind of like you're doing, to sit down and talk about their life, their career, their creative process, because that's what I'm interested in as an artist myself, because I have a background in the arts. I feel a kinship towards artists, and of course in the summertime out here we have an opportunity to be exposed to a great deal of fantastic artists and musicians, and so I'm going to be launching that very soon, and that should be exciting.
Yeah, the musicianship out here is just incredible. As a matter of fact, Joe D'Elia is over there sitting texting on his phone while
Yes, he is.
to the interview and make sure we're going to get him on the show.
Yes, another great musician. I hope to have him on my show. You know, I can't always air my full-length interviews. I can sometimes only air a few minutes of an interview, but this podcast series, Interview with the Artist, will be specifically for long-form interviews, and will be a great outlet for that, a great showcase.
Joe, did you notice how he said he'd love to have you? He never said that to me once. The whole time.
So are you a musician? Are you a musician though?
Well, I'm not a good one.
Okay, but
Not
you're a
a good
musician? Well, then we can talk about that.
I mean,
Absolutely.
Hit a chair or something.
Sure. Come on my show, hit a chair, hit a table, hit me.
So over the time that you've been involved as a DJ for the radio station, you have interviewed a lot of people. Who was your favorite interview, would you say, out of everybody? And I know the whole Jeopardy theme song's going on in your head right now.
I'm trying to recall some of the highlights. I'd say Cyndi Lauper. I spoke to her 3 years ago, and she'll be back out here this summer at Ross School for the Starlight Gala. Hopefully I'll get a chance to speak with her again. Sandra Bernhardt, Jane Krakowski, Paula Poundstone, some terrific writers, mystery writers, Linda Fairstein and Lee Child. Let me see, who else? Those are a few just off the top of my head. I'm sure, I know there are more.
I'm sure there's.
But I can never exactly, you know, when I'm put on the spot, I can never remember all of them. So, always such great guests, especially in the summertime.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, Walker, if somebody wanted to get hold of you, what's the email address or a website where they'll be able to find?
Sure. You can email me, walker@wbaz.com, and you can call me at the radio station, request a song, and I'll be happy to play whatever you'd like to hear.
That sounds great. Walker, I really appreciate you taking the time to come out.
Thanks so much, Ian. My pleasure.
We'll be back with more Firewire after this.
I'm Walker Vreeland from WBAZ Radio. We are back, and we are here with Joe D'Elia and Thieves, and this is Drunk's Way Home.
here drinking my glass of beer, same old bottle of whiskey, wondering what I'm doing here. My baby left me, she dropped me like a stone. Now it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight. A bottle of bourbon and a cigarette. His bottoms up, baby, he's letting you out. My baby left me, I feeling quiet alone. Now it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight. Jukebox is playing our favorite song. I can't hear it anymore. Now every time I think about what went wrong, I find myself staggering towards the door. So set him up, barkeep. Yeah, set him up slow. I'm here for the long run, and I got nowhere to go. You know, I can't even get you on the telephone. Yes, it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight. My favorite song, I can't hear it anymore. And every time I think about what went wrong, I find myself staggering towards the door. So set him up, barkeep. Yeah, set him up nice and slow, Joe. I'm here for the long run, and I got nowhere to go. You know, I feel just like a rolling stone. Yes, it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight. Yeah, it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight. Yeah, it looks like I'll be taking the drunk's way home again tonight.
Thanks for stopping by for this episode of The Firewire. I love you, Jake. Take care of your mom. For now, get out. We'll see you next week.
Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire. 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 Welcome to Firewire. You're watching Firewire.